Wendy and Bruce, since they're my bosses, and tell you how great they were, but I will introduce Jenny Larson. I think most of you have met Jenny. Jenny, stand up. Jenny started with us in May, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that she's doing to help us. Just briefly about our program. I think most of you are familiar with what we do, but just to kind of go over it again real quick. Our main focus is on business retention expansion, we think, and we'll talk a little bit about it. The best way to grow jobs in the community is keep what you have and have what you have grow. So I think you all know that. You're all very engaged in that with us. We do have a business attraction program. We do market outside the community. We market outside the state. We'll be doing a call trip, for instance, to Chicago, another one to Northern California this fall. Innovation and Entrepreneurship is a growing program of ours. Jason Ball on our staff coordinates that for us. We hired him out of the university, and he's doing a great job and continuing to increase the connections between our industries and the university, as well as working with some of our startup companies. And the last item is community competitiveness. And that's what we work with you guys a lot on, is how do we position Lincoln to be more competitive in the marketplace. Just a brief summary of some things that have gone on in the last 2 years. Wendy will tell you when she goes to her meetings with other chamber executives that there's a whole lot of crying, and then there's a whole lot of people that are angry at her because she talks about how great things have been. This is just the last 2 years. And just these projects alone are a $450 million investment. Now, obviously, the arena is $250 million. But even if you take that out, that's a lot of things going on in the last 2 years. So something that we all ought to be proud of. In terms of just some things to catch you up on, we are at a record number of jobs in the Lincoln MSA. That was in the paper a couple weeks ago. We have 5,100 more jobs in Lincoln in July of this year than we had in July of last year. Which just says our companies are continuing to grow. We've included at your seat a brochure that we produce. Is Jenny left? It's a little trifold, and we kind of summarize all the rankings in there. It's very popular. We ran 1,000 of these a couple weeks ago. We've already given away half of them. But we this is just some of them. We try to summarize and track all the rankings that go on, and there's a lot of them. Some of them, don't mean a lot, but we think some of them, the ones that we have up here, for instance, this Polina real estate that just came out, that's a big one because he delves a lot into the business climate in different states, and for us to have moved into the top 10 on that list, and I think we're up to number 5, that's a big deal. And then the Forbes rankings we think are a big deal, and just speak a lot about what's going on in the community. Bruce is our main contact at the legislature. In case you haven't kept up, there's been a lot of activity that's gone on in the last year as you're working with your clients and your tenants. Briefly on the TI2 initiative, there is a building and site fund that's been established by the state. It's not a lot, but at least it's something. It's $2 million initially. It'll be about $1.5 million a year. We hope that goes into that fund that you can apply for building enhancements or for site enhancements. So if you have any interest in that, let us know. An angel investment tax credit, which I think the rules are being written right now. An internship grant. We just hosted an event for our companies where the state came in and talked about how you can get grants from the state to hire interns. I think we had 50 companies that came to that. We've already had a number of companies that are taking advantage of that. So if you have a Nebraska Advantage qualified company in any of your buildings, it might be good to mention to them, are you familiar with the internship program? If they have interest, let us know. Pat Haverty can coordinate that for us. And then there's several new programs under the innovation program, including grants for people that are interested in applying for research grants, ways to connect the university with companies better. So that's pretty exciting. There's a fund for equipment upgrades through NIFA that sort of went unnoticed, but we just facilitated one of those for one of our local businesses. Last year, some of you might have missed, the R&D tax credit expanded to 7% if you're doing research and development with the university. And then, of course, the $25 million for Innovation Campus, which gets that underway pretty soon. So I'm going to talk for a little bit about the building and site website, which is actually one of the reasons that I want to talk to you today. This is the site that we did with you guys I think LES in the city in 2003. We did a little bit of an upgrade 3 years ago, but nothing significant. So the way it works is you fill out your form with the realtors, and it uploads on a daily basis to this site. And this is where we do not only our initial searches, but if somebody calls us and needs a small office or a small building, instead of calling 20 of you, this is where we refer those clients. So it would behoove you to check and make sure that your information is getting from the CIE to this site right. And we've had issues, and Monty can tell you there's been issues before where we have to call people and really get them more engaged and make sure that information is being relayed correctly. This year, and Jenny's going to be working at Becky for you all, we're going to completely revamp the site. And one of the things that we want to do, and we think we've got the go-ahead, is to integrate the city's new GIS system, which for those of you that have seen it is just incredibly better than the one that we're using now. So that'll be one thing we're going to do. We've engaged with a GIS workshop, and they are going to be working with us on completely revamping that site. It probably wouldn't hurt, we haven't gotten this far, but we probably need to make sure that we put a team of your folks together and make sure you're reviewing this as we go along. And I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds, Nicole, but we want this to work for you guys, because if it doesn't work for you guys, then it's not what we want. So we really need to focus as we go further along. One of the other things that I wanted to hit on today is when you enter your information in the CIE, it automatically goes to locate Lincoln. That also goes to the LOA system. This is a screenshot of this. This is Black Hills Energy's building and site database. It's actually run by Kansas City Power and Light. They got that when the company split a couple of years ago. But Black Hills has the authority to use this for all their communities. We built a system about 4 years ago, that instead of you all having to go in and enter all your information in this site as well, that it would upload automatically from the CIE into the LOA system. Again, it's not perfect. You have an example right here. So you have Monty's building on Fulton. In order to get it listed in 2 different sizes, because if somebody was doing a 60,000 square foot search, this building wasn't popping up, even though you could split it, then it lists it multiple times. It's not a perfect system, but it's a lot better than sitting there and manually entering data, as I'm sure you all know, on 3 different sites. So we're going to continue to figure out ways to improve this. KCP&L as well as Black Hills spend a lot of money every year upgrading this site. I would encourage you to get on it. If you have comments, Cheryl Brandenburg, I think most of you know, is the new person at Black Hills. Either send comments directly to her or send it to us, and we can get it to her as well. The reason this is important, this is the State Department of Economic Development's Building a Site webpage. So if you go on the State Department of Economic Development, which we'll talk about in a minute, the majority of our clients start. Because the majority of people outside of Nebraska, the first thing they're going to do is look up Nebraska. Because they're going to see, well, I'll get Omaha, I'll get Lincoln, I'll get Grand Island, and everything in between by doing that. Now, we've had a really bad way of doing it statewide because NPPD had a building and site database, which is NETI, and then Black Hills had one, which was LOIS. And the state never politically wanted to have to make a decision between the 2 organizations. We never filled out information for NETI, we always did LOIS. I have been told off the record that by the end of September, NETI will be off the state website. So I say that because, again, when you put your information on the CIE, you get it on our website, you get it on the Black Hills website, and then it'll be on the state's building and site database. But I would encourage you to continue to monitor how those are coming up and how they're being read, because we may not catch it, or there may be something that we don't know. So always monitor not only what's on the CIE, but also how it's being read on those other sites, because those are where the state, Lincoln, everybody refers clients.